case one needs to use. Exactly. Good afternoon, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. You have been camping here for this weekend. We're not done, of course. You should still be camping tomorrow for the live presses that we'll be doing tomorrow. But I do want to thank you for making the time for this particular live briefing, where we're going to be, as promised to yourselves in the statement by the SG yesterday morning, that we will be coming to account to the nation for the work that the ANC-led government is doing to tackle challenges related to water provision. And to my right, as you know, I'm the rose among the thorns this afternoon. But to my right is the chairperson of our NEC subcommittee, well known to yourselves, Comrade Zweli Mkhize, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, and of course also well known to yourselves, Comrade Senzo Mchunu Macingwane, who is a deployee of the ANC in government, responsible for this important mandate of water and sanitation. Both comrades are old hands in governance, having been premiers of KwaZulu-Natal, but so they also have a very keen sense and keen understanding of the challenges related to water provision and where challenges are at and what are the types of things we need to be doing to tackle that challenge. I don't want to waste any more time. I will ask my comrades, the leadership here, to keep it succinct so that you have more time to engage with them on the issues that you have been raising with us for some time now regarding the steps the ANC is taking to tackle the challenge of water provision. And as part of our organizational protocol, we always defer to the chairperson of the subcommittee. Over to you, Upe.
Thank you very much, Comrade Mahlengi. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, thank you very much for the opportunity. As you will be aware, the Social Transformation Subcommittee of the NEC is focusing on a wide range of issues, and amongst them is the issue of water and sanitation, insofar as it's a very, critical aspect of human settlements and, the life, the sustainable life that we expect our people to live. So from conference up to now, this issue has received a lot of attention from the African National Congress membership, coming from various communities, and therefore a whole program was worked on for the deployee, in this case the minister, to bring forth reports of how much has been done and therefore account to the public. And on top of that, also as we have been preparing for elections and going around with manifesto reviews and other discussions, we found quite a lot of areas that require interventions where the communities raised issues that require quick action from different levels of government. In this case, we would like to present to you a number of activities, programs that have been tabled to us as they have been conducted by our deployee, the Minister, Senzo Mchunu, is going to be taking us through some of those. And of course, you will be free to give us, questions where we would like to get additional clarifications. So over to you, Macingwane, if you'd like to take us through.
Thank you very much. Maybe let me just move.
Sure.
Yes. So,
Thank you very much, Comrade Mahlengi, and thank you very much, Kawazal, Chairperson of the subcommittee. The first point that we would want to take this opportunity and put across is that water is divided in the main to two streams. The first stream is water resource management in the country and elsewhere. This is where you deal with rivers, water from the river, the dams, in the main. As far as that is concerned, even though South Africa is a water-scarce country, but we just have enough water, all of us in South Africa and our business. We have water available for use, and we're stable there. Now, the word crisis doesn't apply there, to be honest. But I must be quick to add that because of climate change, there are dangers here and there, and to mitigate those, we are then augmenting water resources so that we have a larger horizon as far of safety on the water side, on the water resource side. If you hear us talking about Lesotho Highlands Water Project, it's for augmentation into the Vaal system, which supports close to 20 million people in 5 provinces in the Republic, including Namibia, down the Orange River. So it's quite a large system supporting and businesses, with Gauteng being pivotal as our economic hub. But out of Gauteng, you have Northern Cape. You have a large scheme there called Vaal Gamagara that we're doing with the private sector. Out of there, in the Western Cape, we have several dams there whose walls we are building up to conserve more water. And the current biggest one is Clan Williams. And then in KZN, you have Umkomazi Dam, which is about to start in a year or so. And then in the Eastern Cape, you have Umzimvubu, whose processes are starting next month. Umzimvubu Dam will be starting there, clearing the whatever and getting houses built for workers and all of that. The road to that site is finished, so that next year, early next year or so, we actually start the wall. But in Limpopo, we have a large scheme that covers Sekhukhune. It also covers it will cover Polokwane, apart from Ebenezer Olifants. So all the provinces, that includes the Free State, Northwest, they have large schemes that are augmenting what they already have. Now, where there is a worrying situation is on the services side, which is the second stream, water services. This is water provision, but the normal word that gets used is water reticulation to your homes, to the various households, and to communities. That's where we have a problem. In terms of the legislative architecture in the country, that is the duty that falls within the purview of local government via water services authorities, which are municipalities that have been designated as water service authorities. By and large, many of the municipalities in South Africa are water services. They are water service authorities. But over years, all of us know municipalities have been declining in terms of their capacity to provide water or to provide services general, and water included there, and in particular water. Now, with that decline, it was clear that water provision was going to suffer. So what are we doing in order to turn the situation around so that the decline of municipality doesn't decline automatically with water services beyond the point that we are in at the moment? One, we have engaged with municipalities and with COGTA itself to say, let us cooperate in such a manner that DWS, via water boards, cross the line from just providing bulk and actually cross into the terrain of reticulation. And to a large extent, water boards are helping out where ordinarily they wouldn't be helping out in terms of reticulation. where municipalities would have been on their own. So we're doing that, by and large. Examples are in eThekwini, we are getting there. We've finalized all the matters to turn their situation of water around, including things that, or pipes that were affected by the storm. In Johannes, in the whole of Gauteng, starting from September last year, our intervention was on improving water management skills of various water service authorities, including Johannesburg municipality entity called Johannesburg Water, to say, no, we need skills to be improved in order for them to be able to manage water even where there are problems. Now, included in this is a way to avoid further harm by the problems of energy supply. If you saw some kind of problems in Gauteng municipalities, particularly Johannesburg, Tshwane, it was as a result of a combination of factors. One, we got affected by absence of energy supply for more than 4 hours. Now, once you have a blackout for more than 4 hours, while people are using water in a normal way, and by the way, Gauteng has the highest consumption of water in the country, reaching more than 300 liters per capita per day, which is way, 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 way up from the average of 173 liters per day per capita international. Now, so reservoirs got depleted naturally, and people were going to be affected as soon as their nearest reservoirs was not dishing out water. And that's how you got this problem. So for more than 4 hours of outage. But the second thing is the one that around the 18th of August, we noticed that consumption in Gauteng swung up. And we said, what's this? And we called all municipalities and say, we're realizing that there's quite an upswing of water usage, and please manage this, prepare for this. It may be because we're getting into summer, people are watering their flowers, they are getting into swimming pools, they are showering for a long time and all of that. But definitely there was that problem. But they also have a high non-revenue water. This includes water losses, direct losses from pipes, but they also have high losses via things like illegal connections, just pumping water to people without billing and all of that. So it was a combination of things. We've turned that thing around by, among other things, talking about water shifting, which has mitigated the problem, and by and large, most, if not all of them, the areas that were hit had this particular problem, and were mitigated against that. So it's on the side of water services where there's a problem, mainly infrastructure, non-revenue water, but the issues of managing and skills that are necessary that go with managing water. But ordinarily, what are we saying on the long run? We're saying we now have to, because the Water Services Act distinguishes between the Water Service Authority and the water service provider. We're now saying we need to push the idea of a service provider much higher to the agenda to say you need not be a water service authority and a service provider at the same time. You will remain as a water service authority, which is the constitutional mandate, but let's appoint, let municipalities that are water service authorities appoint water service providers. Now, you will see in the next few months, in Mfuleni, for instance, you will see Mfuleni appointing or getting to appoint Rand Water as a provider now, not as a, because they are a board, they provide bulk, but they will then turn around also and provide the service to Mfuleni once they conclude that agreement and once it becomes operational. There, what will Mfuleni be? It will remain as a water service authority with authority to comply with the prescripts of the law to water service authorities. But they will then appoint this provider. What will the provider do? We will give them a license, no longer to abstract water from the valve, but now a license to provide the service. In other words, to deal with reticulation and complying with certain standards, that license. Now, they will then work on those bases. As soon as they deteriorate in their services, in terms of the service level agreement, now we'll expect them fully to then query them, and if that continues, we'll then withdraw the license, and they appoint another service provider. This is the path that we're going to. And Mfuleni is not the only municipality in Gauteng that is talking to Rand Water along those lines. In eThekwini, we started off by saying, look, you are not able to run your sanitation, your wastewater treatment plants, hence the complaint. And they have now agreed, Umgeni Water is going to take over 10 of their water treatment plants, wastewater treatment plants. And those represent 90% of sewer processing in eThekwini. So they get run by Umgeni Water, and that is a way of intervening. But there is a pipe bound, which is a southbound pipe, which is an aqueduct, a big pipe. It belongs to the municipality. They don't have money to do that. And we're saying, look, we need to finalize a plan so that we intervene on that. And there are various other areas that are complaining about water in the south, in the north, in the west of eThekwini. We are now forging cooperation, closer cooperation with eThekwini besides the law and its architecture, to talk to one another and agree as a sector. And I'm happy that Department of Finance is into this. There's no contest. And so they will come in on the money side of things, how eThekwini are managing their money that goes to water, and we get into water, and then we will be able to help them. So these are current things that are happening. But other than that, we're all over. We're in Lekwa, we're in Kangala, and I've said we're in Mpumalanga, we're in various municipalities, Northern Cape. In Free State, the biggest municipality there where we're getting in, and it's going to be the same trend. We're going to find the water board called Val Central getting into Machabeng because they are unable to deal with water and sanitation services, or they are only functioning at a very low pace. And to improve and to turn the situation around for the better, for the people there, we are saying let's get together. But in any case, we've intervened there on water and sanitation, on pipes and so on. So this is the trend in the whole country, wherein national government is no longer just confined to certain aspects of providing water in the form of bulk and then coming in on norms and standards only in terms of water provision. But we are getting to work with them, get to overalls and boots and work with them. One example as well, additional, Nandoni, Ntsami, and the 55 villages, we are reticulating water together. Of course, we had to assist them to do a lot of work in terms of contracting 37 contractors that are on the ground now, just to speed things up. So one aspect, therefore, apart from intervening, is speed. Everything that we're doing, we're treating it as emergency in the whole country. And all of us in water know that whenever you touch anything, understand it's emergency, because anyone who doesn't have water, it amounts to a violation of a right which is prescribed in the Constitution. The right of water is a right, and we want to comply with that and make sure that people enjoy not just water, clean water. As you know, we revived the Blue Drop just to make sure that we don't just provide water, but clean water, quality water. And these are things that are happening now. And if a municipality doesn't comply, either with the Green Drop in terms of their effluence or the Blue Drop in terms of quality of water, we give them directives or we take them to court. So things that are happening are to that extent. But Amakosi are also on board. Those who complain to us from time to time, we go to their areas, we assist all over the country, Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and everywhere. And we are increasing our reach directly to communities in some cases, via municipalities, via Amakosi in other cases. And therefore, this is where we are at the moment, if I could stop there.
Thank you very much, Comrade Senzo. Thank you very much, Chair. I'm now going to turn to yourselves, members of the media, and do fire away. Our collective here is ready to take your questions. I will start, as always. So I will start with yourself, Shazi.
Good day, Nkosinathi Shazi from Power FM News. I just have two questions. My first question is on water consumption. You mentioned Uguti Gauteng is the highest consumers of water. You broke down how water works just with regards to water resource management versus water provision. But and I don't mean to be alarmist or fear-mongering. With the water situation, will it ever come to a situation where consumers have to change how they consume water? So with the situation happening with Amand, will we ever get a situation of water shedding just as a way to amend the crisis that's currently ongoing? And secondly, how does government improve its relationship, national government, with local government? And I want to make an example of the water shortage in Johannesburg. I stay in Naturena, south of Johannesburg, and we were out of water for like 7 days, which was something very unusual, like you said, violation of a human rights. And then when we ask these questions to the mayor points fingers to Rand Water points fingers to the minister. So how does national government improve its relationship with local governments and provincial government just with regards to delivering services to the people? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shazi. And then I go to ANC.
Thank you, Abiram Dina from ANC. Minister, just on the water services side, you mentioned that over the years it's been deteriorating. Maybe just further expand on what's led to the deterioration over the years. And secondly, just on the allegations of water tanker syndicates that purposely damage infrastructure to receive tenders of these water tankers. How bad is it, and why is it seemingly allowed to happen, given that they work with these municipalities and receive these tenders to provide water to the communities via the water tankers?
Thank you very much. I could have literally reiterated your question because it's been a persistent one. This aspect. I'm going to take two of my colleagues. That will be our first round, and then I will take it back to both the chair of the subcommittee and Comrade Senzo. I'll ask Comrade Senzo to respond, but wherever chair you want to chip in, please, by all means. I'll start with yourself, my brother.
Someone.
Introduce yourself.
From the citizen, sorry.
Okay.
Look, on Friday, there was a briefing by the Johannesburg Water. Basically, they were saying that, also on Tuesday last week, they were saying that the issue of the high consumption is because now there's a lot of people that are consuming water. But funny thing is, they are blaming summer to say the heat is actually the reason that they don't have water. But summer is every year. It's not something that is new. It's summer is every year. Was there a plan that what are you going to do in summer? And also, according to experts in the water industry, they are saying at least in the next 5 years, if we do not see what we're seeing at ESCOM, we might see even worse. So I just want to hear, is there any plan for that? And also, municipalities, including Ekurhuleni, Johannesburg, and also Tshwane, they're not paying rent water. So, and blaming rent water, I feel it's a bit unfair because they are not paying rent water. So in that, as government, what are you doing to ensure that at least you fix that relationship between the municipalities and paying for those services. So I think I'll stop there.
Thank you very much. And then lastly, on this round, Newsroom.
Junior Kuman from Newsroom Africa. Just to build on the last question that was asked by my colleague, in terms of non-payment, we just had a briefing before this one by the subcommittee on
Legislatures and governments.
Yes, they spoke about COGTA and how the president has spoken to COGTA, national government, and water and sanitation to come up with a solution for non-payment. How far are those discussions between COGTA and Treasury? That's the question.
Okay, I'm sure Congress Silso can respond to that as part of this troika around the issue of water interface with the service delivery interventions. May I leave it at that, and then we will have a second bite at the cherry. I just wouldn't want to pack it too much. Unless yeah.
No, this one goes directly with that one that I asked.
That's fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This basically for Johannesburg Water to blame the resident of being there's quite a number of them here. Do you think, Minister, that is fair, considering that people obviously will come to Johannesburg and they know that they need to up their scale when it comes to water? Is it fair that they swiftly shift the blame to residents to say, actually, there's a lot of you, that's why we can't supply?
All right. Thank you very much. Let me start with the Constitution of the Republic says water is a right, and therefore everybody in South Africa must get access to clean water 24/7. Now, when Johannesburg Water say there's high consumption, they are right. They are not blaming. They are stating a fact that you are overusing water, all of you residents of South Africa. Please be careful. Don't overuse. Don't be aware that we are in a water-scarce country, but we use water responsibly. They are not saying don't quench your thirst. They are not saying don't go shower. And therefore, let's be cautious in terms of usage. I want to be upfront on that we stand with them. We stand by them. We've been meeting with them from September last year, and this is a fact proven by science beyond any doubt. And it's correct, by the way, for that water entity to issue a call that please let's conserve water. So you can't water your flowers for an hour while talking to your neighbors and all your data on the phone, calling people everywhere. Please don't do that, because we're a water-scarce country. In any case, you are talking about processed water, treated water, that must be shared with other individuals. And therefore, you can't just use it anyhow. Let me come to summer. Again, they're not blaming summer. They are mentioning a fact that once we get into summer, the consumption goes higher. But what is the long term of managing that? Again, we've been meeting from September last year on this matter. One, this has resulted into, among other things, all of us in the sector in Gauteng realizing that because Gauteng has, over years, taken so many people, the number of residents in Gauteng have swung up quite dramatically. There is also a factor of the population growth and business growth. We need to do something about it. And Rand Water made an investment. We have, in about August this year, we added 150 megaliters into the Gauteng system via Rand Water. Somewhere in January, we're adding another 150 megaliters. That would mean that by end of February, we'll have added no less than 600 megaliters into the Gauteng system. But that is recognizing that it's not just blaming summer, we're doing something about it. But what else did they do? They have, in Vlakfontein, we went there to commission a reservoir of 210 megaliters, meaning that the East Rand, up to Twatwa and all those areas, will have much more water in reservoirs. just to make sure that when pumping takes place, you have a lot of water in reservoirs, so that even if there is an outage, you are able to have longer time using water that is just stored. And this is what's happening all over. But what else have we done? We've said all these municipalities, please invest in your infrastructure, particularly your pump stations, particularly your reservoirs. And I'm happy that all these municipalities have done so. But they're at various stages of completion. We're monitoring that. Tshwane, Johannesburg, and Ekurhuleni in particular. They've done what they could do in terms of investing on water infrastructure. But we now want to push them to replacing their pipes, because some of their pipes are old. We see it in Mfuleni, where we're running Section 63, where you have 24 contractors replacing pipes. Everton has a pipe that is about 110, 112 years old, ever since that township was established. One pipe has serviced many generations. It can't be. You need to replace it. So there's a lot that is happening from the public sector in terms of investing infrastructure into water and sanitation. But we're also inviting the private sector to invest via an office that we call Partnership Office, which we're running with DPSA, just to make sure that people from the private sector get in to invest, be it on contract management, desal, water reuse, and all other programs. But in practice, I'm saying, when Johannesburg Water say, please mind your thirst, not your thirst, your usage of water, not your thirst, your usage of water. Well, it's combined because you drink only when you are thirsty. But mind your usage of water. They are right, we support them on that. Summer, we are all together with them in trying to mitigate the fluctuations. And then you talk about the threat. Now, I have said on a lighter note to Premier Lesufi, when he talks about problems of electricity in Gauteng, he must then put a full stop, and then in another breath talk about water, and not put the same together. Now, I'm also saying to you, please don't put water together with electricity. Well, electricity are already experiencing load shedding. There's no load shedding here. There's load shifting. There's water shifting. Now, and there's a vast difference in that. And I said at the beginning, water, there is enough water available for all of us. Available. All that is a problem that we're battling with is water to households. And there's a big difference between water and electricity at the moment. So that threat, we're hitting it to be on caution and all of that. But there's a lot that we're doing to prevent that. One of the things that we're doing is this. We're going to be adding more than 400 cubic meters, 400 million cubic meters into the Vaal system via the Lesotho Islands water project, which means that there isn't a time that we're envisaging, and this project will kick in 2030. And so each of the provinces, in KZN, Mkomas must kick in by 2027. We know exactly when we are likely to experience problems with regard to the available resources, because we are looking at them. And therefore, that's why we're starting. And in every province, there are those measurements that are being done, assessments that are being done every year and every time, and we keep on monitoring. So unless something extraordinarily dramatic happens, we are in control, we are stable in terms of water. And we listen to the experts. Some of the people who speak are not necessarily experts, but we listen to them, even if they are not experts. But I'm saying directly, the issue of the threat, we are on top of it, and we're looking at it. That's why we're augmenting, so that in case, but we still are safer. Now, on debt, there are two things that we have discussed and have concluded and are now managing, we are now implementing. There are municipalities that owe water boards a number of, particular amounts, where it coincides with the water board also owing DWS a particular, an X amount of water. What we have done is we took a model that Treasury and ESCOM implemented or agreed on, and we took it to water, and it translated into something along these lines, where a water board owes us, but they are also owed by a municipality. We will then negotiate terms of writing off those debts. As we write off the debt of a water board, they write off. And it coincides with a municipality in the Free State called Machaven, which owes Val Central something like 5 billion rand. Is it 5 billion? 5 million? I think 5 billion rand. There's a lot of money that they are owing, far beyond their imagination themselves. And there's going to be this mechanism wherein we deal with this. A responsible thing to do is not an irresponsible thing to do, just writing off, but we are balancing certain things. But where there is no such coincidence, and municipalities owe water boards. Firstly, we don't want water boards to get to a level where they need to be bailed out. It's not going to happen. We are saying they must enforce compliance with the debtors. And it gets to Treasury. We have agreed with Treasury. The Treasury is going to look at their allocations, and we deduct that side of Treasury, not this side of Treasury, not once money reached them, but we deduct there gradually, incrementally, in some cases, such that the debt is balanced downwards. Because if we don't do that, we are going to get to a point where the debt is unmanageable, and therefore the water board that supplies bulk there is no longer able to sustain itself. We don't want the water sector to be unsustainable in the country. And from time to time, we assess sustainability of the sector via these kinds of mechanisms that we are doing. That even this thing called tariffs, we are looking at that to say there must be some reform on tariffs. We realize that some municipalities go asunda in terms of imposing tariffs or hiking tariffs, and very high figures. Now, we want to try and balance them and stabilize them. Next question, it was the same question on debt relief, debt management. We are doing that. I must not be heard speaking in tongues. If you are a municipality, you are a mayor, you are a manager, and you owe a water board anything or DWS, pay. But we are and if you don't pay, we are going to talk to Treasury to start managing your allocations in a manner that makes you pay. But where there's a coincidence that I've alluded to, we will then be able to manage the debt in that particular way. So I want to make myself very clear on that. Now, ENCA deterioration. What have been the factors? Local government minister and MSCs will talk to you about that, how municipalities have been declining and deteriorating, and therefore getting to a level where their capacity of rendering services has been reduced. They are experts on that, and they are the authority on that. But looking at it from the perspective of water, if you look at, let me take Eastern Cape as an example. This financial year, 23-24, how much? 2 grants, WIZIG, which is part of their water infrastructure, is a grant, and ARBIC, which is part of the original bulk. Just those two, they amount to 6 billion rand, just above 6 billion rand. 6 billion rand is a hell of money. If someone can hand that 6 billion to all of you, some of you will be in coma. 6 billion. It's quite a big amount. And therefore, how are we using that 6 billion? Time has now come where not only must we talk that that money must be used responsibly, we are getting Treasury to really sit on municipalities, on financial management, and their cocktails at local level, at municipal level, no, at provincial level. And this is proving to be working. Again, eThekwini, what Treasury has determined in eThekwini will sort of surprise you. Just to look at their financial management over time. So it tells you that not all is well in municipalities in terms of their capacity to manage the grants only, just the grants only. I'm not talking about their own overall finances, but just grants. And therefore, these are all the things that we need to tighten going forward to make sure that the question will be answered by them. I'm answering in part that we are now intervening to tighten the screws in terms of accountability on finances, on water. Because if we don't do that, we're all going under the bus. Now, failure, yes, we would say there have been failure, but we're turning things around via this vast intervention. I can't count the number of municipalities that we're intervening on. They're all over in all provinces. But Shazi, in Johannesburg, there's a daily meeting between Rand Water, no, 2 meetings a day between Rand Water, I'm talking about technicians, I'm not talking about board and so on, and Rand Water, and Tshwane, and Eguruleni, every day in the morning, every day in the evening, and we get briefed in terms of outcome, and we intervene if there's a matter on which they can't resolve on their own. And therefore, it has proven very effective so that they don't keep on blaming each other. If they blame each other, they are there and they fix what they're blaming each other for. And it's working because as soon as we detect this blame game, we intervene and say, no, science will talk and will talk objectively, and you need to deal with your side of it. They were blaming each other in the past, it's true. And sometimes we'll say both teams must walk and follow a pipe, go to a particular valve in a particular pump station, and they would agree alone and say, hey, look, we're on the wrong side. It's you who is on the wrong side. And then we've said, let's cut off politicians at that level, because sometimes politics get in there and say, no, keep on blaming them because you need to protect me. So we're out of that now. They are meeting twice a day, and they are dealing with that. Now, you spoke on consumption. Yes, consumption has gone up. And I'm saying we are insisting on, if there is no turnaround in Gauteng municipalities, then we'll have the last resort. What's the last resort? The last resort is where we restrict SDWS, because we can't simply go to Rand Water and say, abstract more than you are abstracting, and then pour it to Gauteng. What will happen then? It's like sugar in your home. If you say everybody double your usage of sugar, everybody's going to be ill then. They will be sick and they will go to hospital and they will die. So you can't do an irresponsible thing just because you can afford. You've got to go in line with other aspects. So we are going to be restricting if all fails. And in some cases, that day is not very far. Thank you.
Can I just make one point, maybe 1 or 2 points? Firstly, that there has been these interventions. They came around because we've been listening to people, we've been monitoring, and so we're satisfied that, in fact, the government has begun to respond to cover some of the things that were sources of concern. So from that point of view, the ANC has been quite satisfied with the fact that there's a lot of intervention. I think when you listen to the minister, you will notice that there would have been a role of how the national government, the province, and the role of the municipality. But now, because of the intervention, they've got to come closer. All we needed from the government is solutions. The internal rules and rearrangements, they've dealt with that. The second issue, I think it's important to reformulate your question, because the issue of the explanation, it's not because there's a blame. And I think it's important to explain that there has to be an explanation why there's a challenge. But the fact that there is an explanation does not mean there's not going to be a solution. And in this case, I think it's important to say that of course, the consumption is obviously going to be increasing. If you look at the same family going back a few years back, the consumption will always be increasing steadily. Now, in this case, the real challenge particularly for Gauteng, has been the increasing numbers. The population shift has been huge. You know, there was a time when we were in KwaZulu-Natal. KwaZulu-Natal was had the largest population. Gauteng has shot up much quicker. But you couldn't predict beforehand where the population movement is going to go. Now you always watch, maybe after census, you then see where the net number of population movement has been. So that puts strain on the infrastructure. At the same time, there's also old infrastructure that has to be dealt with. Some of the management issues of payments and many skills technical skills in municipalities would certainly affect some of the municipalities, as we have seen in the past. And all we've said is that as ANC, attend to all of these issues. But when there's an explanation, we don't take it that they are blaming the population for using the water. We're actually explaining why they should. It's like going through a freeway. Normally there's a peak hour, and then if there's an accident, we can't ask the question, but didn't you think that there would be an explanation? That there would be an accident. But there will be an accident, but you didn't know where it was going to happen. Because of that, then you must go solve the problem. But if you explain, you're not actually blaming the people, why did you have an accident? So I'm just saying that we must also understand from where we sit. Over the years, there's been lots of these challenges, and the ANC has been saying, let us get the intervention. And the minister has just explained the interventions. And we're saying the ANC is monitoring it, and we're happy that there's actually those interventions.
Thank you very much, Kabazela. Thank you very much. I'm going to indulge us a bit further, unless you feel that it's been crystal clear. Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up from Shazi. It's crystal clear. Numa? ENCA? All good? You are in two minds. So be clear, be clear. I know you're angling for rugby tonight, but we don't want us to walk away here.
Last one. How do you plan to intervene with municipalities in terms of the water leaks? I mean, the water leaks are part of the challenges that the department might face, because you are losing a lot of water through these water leaks and all that. So that might also affect the issue of delivering the water.
Yes.
So how are you dealing with that specifically?
I also wanted to ask Comrade Senzo, Comrade Chen, to just quickly unpack the concept of water shifting. I've had a number of questions from my colleagues in the media that would suggest that we should continually communicate the notion of water shifting, particularly as it pertains to Johannesburg.
Let me start with that one. Water shifting means we're a community here was serviced by a particular reservoir, all these households. But our reservoir is full, but it continues to service us. But the reservoir next door is empty or running empty for some reason or the other in a particular hour or so. So it means shift water from here. In other words, switch off the incoming. In other words, the inlet into that reservoir, pass it over to that one, instead of keeping on filling to ceiling when next door is empty. Shift water to that. That's what it means, and it's working. Was Naledi, what is this, Lisedi municipality was complaining that they get some of their water from a reservoir in Eguru Lane. But they get it through gravity. And so it must be at a level, a particular level, like in the 70s, 70% full. Because once it is 40% full, the gravity, they lose gravity. And therefore they lose their pressure. And they don't get water. So it's a question of understanding all those things and keeping that reservoir full so that they also get water. So they manage this thing now at a technical level every day. But back to your original question, it starts from saying when there is a particular point where water is leaking, gushing up, we've said to municipalities, it must be repaired and attended to within a particular time frame. Don't just let water gush. We ourselves at a national level, we fall, literally fall. Whatever I'm doing, when I get a message, some of the citizens are very good. They say, water is gushing out in a particular part, they give you location. We send people on the spot. That's the first thing that needs to be done. That's why we're saying people who work in water are like people who are operating in hospitals. You can't operate a patient while in the middle of an operation, somebody phones and then you kind of, what kind of ethics is that? So when water matters are up, please get up and do that. So time in the second one is just maintain your system. Operate and maintain. You will know that from time to time now, they will say we are maintaining and therefore, what is this thing, shut down. The shutdowns that are announced are deliberate. They have to do with maintenance. At some point, one fellow called Msimang of DA, he fought us, why are we shutting down? I mean, everywhere, go to England, go to any other country, when you maintain, you announce and then shut down. It happens like that. And therefore, no politics in that. And it's not irresponsibility or failure or whatever. It's just as stupid. But inform the public prior. That's what we're insisting. Communicate with them. Say to them, we're maintaining for this hour to this hour on a particular day. Please load your other containers so that you don't suffer and so on. So leaks, you need operation and maintenance on a regular basis on your infrastructure. But the second thing, replace. So this means investing. So each one of them is, all of these are happening as we speak at various levels. But there's this problem that I just hinted on, illegal connections. There are lots and lots of, on a lighter note, I always say to Premier in Gauteng, maybe you need to make an announcement. In other words, Gauteng is now full. Lock all the gates. Because the way it is happening, as we speak now, I can assure you that between morning and now, several people have settled in Gauteng. They already have homes. Like they will be having their first night in Gauteng as we go to sleep. People that we didn't enjoy the morning with, they have just come in, and that's what is happening. And if
they'll drink water before they sleep.
They will drink. They will demand water before they sleep, and they are part of. Some of them they illegally connect, or they even illegally connect from illegally connected pipes. But I'm not blaming them. I'm like Kawazile was saying. We're just stating facts. So they have, on human settlement and as government, we now have to begin to control settlement. There's nowhere in the world where you just allow people to settle any day, any time of the day, any time of the week, any time at night, and you don't register, you don't plan. These people are the ones who toy. We want schools, we want roads, we want this and this. And if you go to communities, they attest to this, that all of a sudden we have 200 people there, we don't know them, and we don't know where they come from. They speak another language and all of that. These are some of the things that we now have to, get to terms with, unpalatable as it may be, but we just have to act on these things. In rural areas, by the way, I come from there, there is no one home that will ever settle under Induna unbeknown. Induna will go there the following morning and say, "Oh, where do you come from? When was it? Please." It doesn't happen. And he will inform the chief. It doesn't happen in rural areas. So in that regard, traditional leaders in South Africa, number one, but not all of them, of course. Others, they are also doing the same, like is happening in. If we don't control settlement, human settlement, we will always be trailing behind services as we are, maybe worse in future. Thank you very much.
Some hard truths have been shared, some facts have been shared, and clearly the ANC accounting to the nation and telling it like it is. I'm sure you've had your money's worth this afternoon. Thank you very much to the chairperson of our subcommittee, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, and our public deployee minister, Senzo Mchunu, is here also as a member of the National Executive Committee. We keep stressing that they're here in that capacity, but they're deployed in government for a very excellent exposition of the issues in the water services environment. We are adjourned. Colleagues, let's see each other at 10 in the morning for the discussion and the briefing on measures to combat crime with a particular focus on illegal mining, the matter of Zabazamas. So we have a date in the morning. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.